Greetings, BookTube. Tonight I will do my review of The Last Man by Mary Shelley. Now, dystopia and alternate history is this channel's bread and butter. So, this being the first dystopia, I had to read it. Despite having some significant issues with it, I read it. It was a long, slow drag, and we'll get to that shortly. So, The Last Man was published in 1826. And it was written by Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein. So, this novel, let's talk what it's about, and then I will give some thoughts. This novel it tells the life story from the first-person perspective of a man named Lionel Verney, and his life from the beginning of his life until some point when he becomes the last man, when a worldwide pandemic wipes out humanity. And the encroachment of the plague itself is very, very slow. So it's more than just the story of the plague. It's the life story, this man's life and his relationships, his various relationships, which include the former royal family of the United Kingdom, and etc., etc., and his sister and his relatives. It tells the triumphs and losses of his life, especially in part 1. Part 1 feels like a completely different novel compared to parts 2 and 3, when the plague itself is emphasized. And the book and the title itself is a spoiler. He is the last man on earth by the end of the book. Sorry, I won't get too much into that, but you can already see that's the title gives it away. So it's about a bubonic plague that ravages the world, and there's hints of it being supernatural with darkened sun, etc., and weather events. So anyway, like I said, it tells the life story of the last surviving man on Earth. Supposedly, it's left ambiguous at the end. And for some unknown reason, Lionel Verney, the first-person narrator, is immune to the plague. Now, I don't want to get too much into the details of the story, because then it'll just... This video will have no end. So like I said, part 1 feels like a completely different novel compared to parts 2 and 3. The purpose of part 1, I think, was to make us care for the characters. Care for the characters who will later die off. Yes. And this story takes place in from 1826, fairly distant future, just shy of the 22nd century. So we're right now living in the 21st century. So just shy of that. So this is the not too distant future from our time. And the story also has hints of politics in it. England becomes a republic. And so the story illustrates a lot of Mary Shelley's thoughts about grief and loss. A lot of people she loved in her early life died. And so this book is her therapy for grief. A lot of the characters in this book are stand-ins for her family, her late husband, her children. I think she only had one child. I don't recall. Anyway, a lot of the characters in the book are stand-ins for people that Mary Shelley knew in her life. And the book also is a rejection of romanticism and the beauty of nature. Although she admits that nature can be beautiful, it also works against us. Like fate, when it comes to illness and the natural disasters, etc., can strike down any idealistic ideas humanity has. So we see some of the politics in this book. People are striving to make England a better place for all, more egalitarian society. But it can all be swept away by plague. So it's a lament that everything that we build up in life can just be swept away instantly. Anyway, this book has multiple problems. Let's get to some of my thoughts in this book. This book has multiple problems. Overly long paragraphs, exclamation, sometimes well over a page of a paragraph, exclamation points in mid-sentence. So after an exclamation point, the next letter is a lowercase letter. Old-fashioned English, like instead of saying show, S-H-O-W, it says show, S-H-E-W. And there's some weird storytelling quirks. Like I said, part 1 feels like a completely different novel. And out of Lionel Verney's 3 children, there is an unnamed middle child that dies off pretty early, and it was just completely pointlessly just added in there, and it doesn't describe Lionel's grief for the loss of his second child, only for his other 2 children later on in the book. So, second child, middle child, out of 3 children he had. So there's a lot of strange things in this book, strange writing decisions. And so it was a little bit of a slog to read through. But like I said in the beginning of this video, this is the world's first post-apocalyptic novel, so I had to read it. 1826. Oh, also, even though this takes place in the distant future, there is no technological development in this book, except for air travel via hot air balloons. So there are blimps or zeppelins in this book? Yeah, blimps or zeppelins. I don't remember the name of it, but there are hot air balloons that transport people via air. And yeah, so it is a personal drama. It is the story of the world ending. And for whatever reason, Lionel Verney is immune to the disease. He catches it and then he recovers. And there is supernatural. The book hints at the plague being supernatural. It's not explicitly stated, but there's also a hint that Mary Shelley still believed in miasma, like the air is tainted. So it's a very dated book. So there is no technological updates. There is projections of political updates, like England becoming a republic, the United Kingdom becoming a republic, but they're still fighting the Ottoman Turks in this book. So that's weird. So it feels like if this book were transplanted, like say, instead of the late 21st century, the mid 19th century, then this book, in terms of the technological developments, would make more sense. Yeah, if it were set in the more closer to Mary Shelley's lifetime. But the book does a really good job at describing natural beauty in terms of landscapes, in terms of architecture, and in terms of emotions and feelings. It is a very poetic book, and I found myself really taken by. I found it very profound, the descriptions of natural beauty and natural landscape. Although Mary Shelley is a little bit. They say she was. I've seen a film about Mary Shelley, and I've heard that she's like the first goth girl or something. Like she was a very edgy person for her day. But she doesn't describe what it means to be ill. And what I mean by that is, other than just a temperature, she doesn't describe disgusting bodily functions. So the description of the plague was very, very restrained. And of course, this book being published in 1826, there was no smut in it of any kind, like romance. There was romance, but there's no smut. So the language in this book is very, very polite, despite it being a very grim and tragic and sad tale. I would give this book a 6 out of 10. Now, like I said, there are parts of it I enjoy, and it's but had this book been published today, if it had not been the world's first apocalyptic novel, I probably wouldn't pick this up. It's just for the sheer uniqueness of this book that I picked it up. Okay, thank you very much for listening in. Goodbye.